What is going on, everybody? Man, it feels like it's been a really long time since I've made a video like this. I've tried different styles, but just talking to you face to face is very interesting. But how's it going? What's not face to face? You know what I mean. But anyways, so everybody's been asking me, Juice, where is your freaking Joker review? And well, the reason why I haven't posted this on Friday, because I did see it on Friday and then I saw it again on Sunday because this movie is something else. But anyways, this movie, of course, you know, it was fucking fantastic. Maybe you thought it was terrible. I thought it was fucking fantastic. But if you want an in-depth review, you guys know, I hope you know, that I've been doing a podcast for the last 6, going on 7, 8 weeks now. And it is called the Batman News Weekly Podcast. If you're not subscribed to it, well, please go subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm, Spotify, Google Podcasts. It's available on a bunch of different podcast platforms, but it's on a majority of the major ones. And I'm gonna start posting those podcasts here on YouTube as well, but they will be posted at a later date because, of course, I want you to go download them on Apple and stuff like that. Get those podcast views up. And but I will eventually start posting them here on YouTube. Now, these will definitely be longer form videos, so there will be ads throughout the podcast. So if you want an ad-free viewing of the podcast, definitely go download them on those websites. Anyways, getting that all out of the way, me and my friend Clay, who is my co-host on Batman News Weekly, recorded a podcast right after we saw Joker. We didn't talk about the movie. We left the theater and we're like, Luke, let's just go home. Let's freaking, you know, film the podcast, and then we'll post it online. And I was actually going to do it as this week's podcast, but we have so much Batman stuff to talk about, I'm actually just going to do that part of the podcast as a separate video here and on the website. It's just basically a bonus podcast for this week. So the next 40 plus minutes or whatever of this video, you are going to hear the conversation between me and my friend Clay and what we thought about the Joker. And the ending does kind of just end abruptly, but that's because we actually thought we were going to be filming another part of the podcast at a later date. But for, you know, your viewing pleasure or your listening earhole pleasure, here's me and my friend, my co-host, Fanboy Clay, talking about the Joker movie. Enjoy. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Batman News Weekly number 8. Okay, so we're doing things a little differently right now. It's actually, we're recording this on Friday, so Batman News Weekly number 7 is dropping today, and we just saw the Joker, came out October 4th. We're just literally got out of it like an hour ago. So me and Clay are going to go ahead and give our thoughts on this movie, and then we'll record everything else for the podcast at a later date because there's going to be, of course, comic books and all this other stuff. Batwoman comes out this Sunday. But right now we're going to give our fresh thoughts. We haven't even talked about the movie ourselves, so we're going to just jump right into this. Clay, what did you think about Joker?
Holy crap, dude. I will tell you, this movie is the most uncomfortable, disturbing, legitimate Joker, like, on-screen film I have ever seen. Like, and let me just say, the uncomfortable and disturbing is separate from the joke, like the title of Joker. This movie is just overall disturbing.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a tone and a vibe to this movie. It's like the very last shot of this movie, I was like, this is so Joker.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was so insane because, you know, a lot of people were like, they're not taking anything from the comics, which Todd Phillips actually corrected that. They were like, oh, that got taken out of context. He's like, we're taking stuff from the comic books, but we're just taking what we liked and interpreting it our way.
Yeah, and then also, you know, just so people just don't think this is a spoiler-free review before, you know, we get on to the other news stuff. This is actually, like, spoiler-filled, so if you haven't seen the movie, stop what you're doing, go see the movie, and then come back and listen.
Yeah, totally meant to put that in the intro. Is just, like I said, we haven't even talked about this film, so we're just, like, itching to talk about it. But yes, this is totally going to be spoilers. The movie's been out for a week. Hopefully you were able to see it in that time. But yeah, if you haven't been able to see the movie yet, we're about to spoil the hell out of it. So just, that's fair warning. So in 3, 2, 1, spoilers are now going to happen. But yeah, so again, end of this film was just insane. Like, it was, I couldn't believe how, I was like, the Joker would totally do that. And like, you guys will see this at the end of this film. After all the big shebang happens, there's just this simple, just post, like, I guess he's in Arkham Asylum, and he's just talking to a therapist. Is that?
Yeah.
I guess you would
Yeah,
call that
or a
like talking to a
doctor.
therapist. Yeah, a doctor, and he says like, I thought of this funny joke, and she's like, well, can you want to tell it to me? And he's like, you wouldn't get it. And then it's just like this like simple shot of him walking down a hallway with blood all over his shoes, and you just see all these blood footprints, and he's dancing down this corridor of a hallway, and then he starts running and somebody starts chasing him, and then he runs back, and then it just says the end, like Joker. Like it ends in such, I'm like, Joker would totally do
the title
that.
cards for the beginning and ending of this movie were awesome. It gave a good vibe to the movie. I absolutely loved it. Dude, now let's go to the beginning of the film real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, well, let's not even go to the beginning of the film. Let's go to the trailers. The trailers showed that Zazie Beetz was going to be a prominent figure in this movie. Yeah. Did you call it? I called it.
Oh, what was going to happen?
Yeah.
No.
So here's the thing. Spoiler for here. The moment where, you know, she's first introduced, and, you know, they have that little, you know, glance at each other. They smile at each other. And then you start to see her prominently more and more hanging out with them. One thing that I noticed, I believe it was when they were in the hospital together, when she said, oh, let me go give you some coffee. She never came back, and you never saw him with coffee. And at that point I said, is she really there?
So I never caught on to it because I thought like, well, she just didn't come back. Like, you know, because if you've ever been to a hospital, those cafeterias aren't closed.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just like, you know, she's probably got a, you know, it's a far walk or whatever. And then the instance after he was on the, you know, after he saw that he was on TV, like it cuts to another scene right after that. And so you don't really know how long things happen. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting. Like I was like, oh, okay, like it made total sense.
Oh yeah,
because what I didn't catch on to that she was like basically an aberration, and all of he was just envisioning everything she did. But I was under the impression that, or I was questioning like, this happened too fast. Like she just instantly likes him. Like I thought that was kind of weird because there's this scene in the movie where he basically stalks her. And she calls him out on it, and she's all like, were you following me today? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, I thought that was you.
You know, I was hoping you would break in or something. You know, something like that.
Yeah, because she goes into a bank, and he was all like, well, I got a gun. I was like, I could go do tomorrow. And she's like, you're funny, blah, blah, blah. And then that's it. She was like, well, you should come check out one of my shows, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay. I was like, I mean, things could happen like that. They're in a very, like, poverty-ridden place. And those kind of people stick together, you know, bad equals bad, or like, you know, vulnerable people hook up with the wrong people. And like, I was like, I could see it, but it was just too simple, in my opinion. Like everything was going right for him, like with a female, which you think that's always going to be the bad stuff that goes wrong. And I was like, this is just too perfect. So I was waiting for something bad to happen. And even when he went into that house, like when it's revealed that she doesn't even talk to him, I was under the impression that maybe another guy was going to be in there or something, and she was like sleeping around or something like that. But no, it actually turned out to be that she's never talking to him.
Yeah, she was never there. He was just imagining her being there in all the places where they were hanging out, where they were talking about the shootings. And that was another thing. That's where this movie really took the turn. Was, you know,
the violence.
Arthur lost his job because he had that gun. It fell in the hospital, and he went on the subway. Those three guys started punching him, started bullying him, and everything else. And you hear the gunshot, and you just see blood everywhere.
Yeah,
that was just a gangster sequence right there.
Yeah,
it was
loved it.
Oh, it was so great. And you know, the part where he, you know, killed the two guys and then was running after the third one and just sat there and just unloaded until the gun couldn't shoot anymore. I was like, holy crap, this is a completely different movie now.
Yeah, and that's I was waiting for that turn to happen because I was like, I was the one thing I was scared about going into this movie was that it was going to be just this Arthur Fleck character for like 90 minutes and then the Joker's in it for like 5. I was very scared
like the
of
very
that.
end.
Yeah, but I think it gradually happened very well, and I was like, okay, I'm really digging this. I thought it was awesome, And like, man, there was just scenes where it gets uncomfortable because they hold the panel or they hold the shot for so long.
And there's
when he
no
was just
music,
laughing,
there's no nothing.
Yeah, when he was just laughing at the start forever. And the funny thing about this too is I love that just like the Joker, we never know his origin. We don't know if he actually had a disease or not. Like, we don't know if he had a problem. Did you pick that up on that?
I picked up on that, because, the big thing is he passes out these cards, and it says that he has some sort of disease that helps him, that makes him laugh. It's something with brain trauma.
A medical condition.
Yeah, with brain trauma. That's what the card said. I was trying to read it as fast as I could.
Yeah.
But when the detectives meet him at the hospital, they ask him, and then they're like, oh, that brain condition your mother was talking about, is that even real? And so that brings up the question, oh, crap, is that even real? And it even makes it into question even more when you find out his mother isn't really his mother.
Yeah,
he was adopted, and she was also psychotic.
Yeah.
So
just adding more to his unknown origin.
Yeah.
Which, so that's the one thing. This is definitely one of those films you're gonna want to watch twice. Like, it's great on the first one, but I feel like if I watched this a second time, I'd be like, oh crap, this is just fucking amazing. Like, when you pick up on the little things. And yeah, like, oh man, like, it was just so good because they said they wanted to showcase a character on how they would descend into the Joker. Like, how so many circumstances could be packed together to make the Joker, and I think they did that flawlessly here.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna just say this because it was something that was very prominent before this movie came out about if this could cause violence, and the director and Joaquin were saying, hey, this movie doesn't promote violence. This is a bad character, and we're trying to show you a bad character. This is very much a bad Joker. Like, from I would say from the moment at the subway until the very end.
Yeah, for sure. He is the Joker from the comic books. And I told you, this is the only thing I told Clay after this movie was over. I was like, from now on, it's not going to be Heath Ledger's the best Joker of all time in live action. Like, there is going to be competition here now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I think this is definitely going to be, the Halloween costume of the year is going to be this Joker variation. And I think Joaquin Phoenix is because I think I don't see anybody beating him for the Oscar. If he doesn't win best lead actor, that other actor better be fucking DiCaprio or fucking somebody.
Well, see,
badass.
that's what I have to think about. Okay, so who is up for the role for best actor? I would have to guess it would be either DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It would be Brad Pitt for Ad Astra. Joaquin for Joker, and I don't know any other films that have come out in the last few months.
Well, that's the thing too, because the Oscar stuff doesn't stop until about December or January.
Yeah.
So we still have a few, and a lot of people will release stuff in December just because it's so close to the Oscars. That way, it's so fresh in voters' minds.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens. But
I will say he
fantastic.
Deserves a nominee.
Oh, yeah.
For
sure. If he doesn't get nominated... Well, if this movie isn't in the top 10, like in the Best Picture category, the Oscars are complete shit. Like, if this doesn't get nominated, it doesn't... I can understand it not winning because we haven't seen every film, and, like, it gets subjective at that point because a lot of films are really great.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't get nominated, especially when Black Panther got fucking nominated, like, this, like, our cinematic-wise... This blows out any other superhero movie. You could put it up there with The Dark Knight, but they're both very different tones.
Yeah, for sure.
But like cinematic wise, Marvel ain't got shit on this. DC ain't got shit on this. Although this is a DC property. But yeah, like it was fan-fucking-tastic. And it was creepy. It was funny. So this is something that me and Clay, this happened to us in the theater, and we both looked at each other and we were like, oh shit. Because we know, okay, so first of all, I want to know this in the comments. Hit us up on, freaking Anchor. Hit us up on our Instagrams, our Twitters, whatever. Did your theater have a bunch of cops? Our theater, when we were walking out, had 4 cops in the lobby. We had 2 cops in our theater.
Yes, so
when the movie
started, we had 2 cops in the theater. When we walked out, there was some in the hallway. Then there was like 4 to 6 in the lobby. It was swarming with officers.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And this
but
is the middle of the day. It's not like we're like at
we went
night.
at 3:00 p.m.
Yeah.
We went at, so I can only imagine how many are going to be there at night.
Yeah.
I want to assume those guys that we saw at the end were showing up for the night ones.
Yeah.
That's probably like their shift. But that was insane. But we had this one instance. I think Clay knows what I'm talking about right here. So Arthur, again, this is a spoiler, kills his mom in this movie.
I know
And
exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah. She has this thing in the hospital. You see this in the trailer. And in the hospital, she's there. And this is after he finds out that he's adopted. She lied to him, blah, blah. Because she told him a lie that Thomas Wayne was his father. And, like, he went and confronted Thomas Wayne, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff happens. But this is when he, like, finally snaps. And he smothers his mother to death. And when that happened, we had somebody in the theater laughing.
Oh, and it was dead quiet. It was
God.
dead quiet. It got like that awkward silence of like intensity with the death.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is a really good scene. It's really creepy. And then all of a sudden you just
he's
heard
like,
somebody really creepily giggle in the top right corner of our theater. And I'm just like, oh no.
Oh my God.
And I'm pretty sure we both looked at each other like, oh my God.
Yeah, it blew our minds, man, because we were like, oh, I'm so glad these cops are here. Because, like, it was crazy.
Oh, man.
And then I think, obviously, the most brutal part, I think, is the scissors part.
Oh, yeah. No, when his
Hands down.
I forgot the guy's name, but his coworker. So it's really weird. In this movie, there's, like, a company where they like, hey, we're hiring clowns, and it's just a locker room full of clowns, and then they get distributed to other businesses to like promote stuff or do things for hospitals and blah blah blah. So these two guys, one of them is probably 3 times the size of Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
And
he's a massive dude.
The other one, and this is part of the joke of the movie, is a midget is the word that a little person, but they use that word to like make fun of him and things like that in the movie. And so
he's the butt of all the jokes.
Yeah. And so Joaquin, or the Joker, Arthur, grabs these scissors when he hears there's a buzz at his door, opens it
because he's being questioned by cops at this point.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know who's at the door.
Yeah, so he's talking to this really big guy, and you know, they're saying, hey, these cops are talking to us. They're wanting to know where you're at. You know, what is going on? And Arthur says, oh, yeah. You know, I forgot to thank you for all of that. And he just pulls the scissors out, stabs him in the neck, stabs him in the eye, grabs his head, and then just continues to freaking splatter it all over the freaking living room. And while this other guy is hiding in a corner, just screaming and shaking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Arthur just stops. He sits down, blood all over his face. And he's just, hey, you know that Murray show?
Yeah.
I'm going to be in that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
And that's the thing. I feel like at that point, and maybe a little bit before, well, it was before, you could slowly see where Phillips was taking the Joker, like where he was taking bits from continuity as far as comics, the animated series, things that Arthur did in the movie. Like when he dressed up as that usher in the theater, that's totally something Joker would do. He'd be like, sure. I'm just going to do this and go in there and pretend to do this. And that was, I was like, oh, that's awesome that, you know, Phillips picked up on that kind of thing. And, you know, the dry humor with Joker on point for this movie. So
yeah, it was so good. And I mean, I'm very surprised that what's his name played a bigger role than I thought he was going to be. De Niro's character.
Oh yeah.
Like I didn't think it was going to be that big of a role. I thought he was going to have a good part, but I didn't think he was like a focal point of the whole thing. I feel like he was more of a focal point than Thomas Wayne was.
Oh yeah, he was more of a focal point than Thomas, because Thomas you only saw little spurts. Yeah. Murray was the inspiration of Arthur. Like that's where he wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And it got, you know, when I felt more uncomfortable when he had that daydream of like, oh, you know, I want to be at the show. I want to be able to talk to him. And, you know, De Niro's character brings him down on stage. They bow, they clap. They're doing all this, and it feels really awkward because it's really cringy. It's
Yeah,
super
and
cringy.
I always take a hoodie when I go to the theater just in case it gets cold. But yeah, I was constantly like, oh my god, it's gonna be so cringe. Like the cringiest part was when I knew he was gonna go on stage and do his bit. I was like, oh no, 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 no. I was like, I know this is gonna be the part where everybody laughs at him. I'm gonna feel bad. Like I was like, I don't want to see this. And luckily, it goes into that hazy daydream of where he's with Zazie Beetz' character. And so you don't have to see all of the stuff where he gets laughed at like they show in the trailer. That part actually comes when that clip is sent to Murray's show.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, like this movie did make you feel a bunch of different ways. And I think that's, that is a goal of a film, a good film, I should say. And yeah, like I have to preface it and say this all the time when I talk about this film. I was genuinely one of those people that did not want a Joker film. I did not want it. I was like, this is stupid. We don't need an origin Joker film. Like, why? Like, why is this even freaking a thing? And I didn't want it, but I have to say, Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix have proved me fucking wrong. Didn't want this film, but it's fucking great.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad it actually happened. And one point, I'm going to skip all the way to the ending again like we did, talking about that last scene. But right before that last scene, I just want to say a lot of people didn't want this to happen in this movie. So I'm really interested to see what the reaction will be for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The really big thing was that in the trailer, you saw Thomas, Martha, and Bruce run out of the theater at one point. And I was like, oh crap, they're actually going to attempt to kill the Waynes in this movie.
Yeah.
And slowly I started to think, oh, maybe it won't happen. Maybe it won't happen. But what ends up happening with the Joker character, with Arthur, is that he brings up this cult following and this like movement into Gotham.
Like the Joker does.
Yeah. And all these people in masks are rioting all over Gotham, and they see him in the police car and they're like chanting and they're like waving and getting people riled up. And everybody in the theater starts to run out. You see Martha, you see Thomas, you see Bruce. They go into an alleyway. And then it's like the camera kind of slows onto this guy with a Joker mask. And you're like, oh crap, here it comes.
And you see the gun in his side.
Yeah, and they actually do it. They kill both Thomas and Martha.
Yeah.
And they leave Bruce. And I was like, holy crap, they actually did it. And I will say, it did not take away from the ending of this movie.
No, it didn't take away, but to be honest, I honestly feel like you could take that scene out and it wouldn't matter. Like, genuinely.
Oh, yeah.
It helps at the end because you get kind of confused, like, is that Joker's joke at the end? Because he does flashback to thinking about, like, Thomas Wayne's dead. Like,
oh,
you know what I mean?
I think it is his joke. I think...
Yeah, and I think it is too, but then he also kills that lady too. So, like, you could think, like, maybe his joke was to kill her too.
I think the reason why he killed her at the end was because she didn't get the joke.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something that Joker would do. But overall, man,
she wouldn't have got the joke.
Yeah,
because he literally says that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's the same thing too. And I kind of again didn't really want that to happen because I'm not a big fan of the theory that the Joker creates Batman because it just puts such a big gap in age between them.
Yeah.
So I've never been a big fan of it. But this is supposed to be a one-shot movie. We're not supposed to get any sequels. Todd Phillips said there's no sequel plan.
Yeah, there's
for this
no
at
after
all.
credit scene, no nothing.
Yeah. So if this is a one-shot, I'm totally cool with that. I don't want an extended universe or anything built around this. I would just prefer this. I'm hoping this kicks off the DC Black Label movies, which would be really awesome. And they're all just one-shots. I don't want sequels from these things.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want very artistic movies like this. But yeah, I think that was really interesting. But I will say that, and I know this is gonna make all the freaking Snyder fanboys like giddy, but Zack Snyder has the best Wayne death scene ever, and like I saw them rip the pearls on this one, I was like weak.
Oh
like,
yeah, it was really.
It happened so quick.
It happened really fast, and I feel like maybe the scene was thrown in, like, and that's why it looked really fast.
Yeah, and I think they were probably just going for a little bit more realism there. I mean, to be honest though, like Bruce Wayne kind of sucked. Like he
the
was
kid.
pointless in this film.
Yeah.
He was like stone cold, like just fucking.
I think
done.
the only reason why his placement was there was for that ending. Was for that ending was for the Joker's joke, and I assume that was Alfred.
Yeah, I guess
that
so.
guy's performance was complete. Like I didn't feel it, but other than that, like I know when you see Arthur go into the courtyard or at the gate, it is to confront Thomas, and he's trying to get to the bottom of it, and that's what leads to him going into that theater where Thomas is anyway. So, you know, they planted seeds there,
for sure,
but I just don't know if it was needed.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something you can take out of the film, and it wouldn't really do much else, because you could go off of the. I mean, if you really want to look into it, his mother's like psychosis and craziness was built around Thomas Wayne. She used to work for him. And then so he could be like, I want Thomas Wayne dead because of what he did to my mother. But then again, this is the same guy that just killed his mother. So, you know, it's like you could look into it or not. But I do genuinely feel like you could take out the death of the Waynes and this movie would still just be the same thing. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of just like.
Well, also
it was so well thought out.
I want to talk about because everybody that I know that has seen the movie has made the comment about the bathroom waltz after the 3 deaths.
What about
like everybody's like, oh man, I can hear this gif or I can hear this photo. I didn't really feel that much into it. Like after he ran into the bathroom, he started to calm his nerves, he started to dance. And I know that's supposed to be like the Joker dance. That's supposed to get like that is his persona trying to get out of him. I didn't really feel it right there. The one time that I feel like I felt it was more so near the end when he was going on stage at the Murray show.
Oh yeah, that scene was way better than the bathroom scene. The bathroom scene was dope though because those are his first kills. So you just like he's like becoming the Joker and like that's just where he's starting.
Yeah.
I will say one of the best shots, and I mentioned this in a video or maybe on a live stream prior, but that creepy ass scene right before he kills the dudes in his apartment, when he's like his hands are against the wall and his like neck is like cocked,
where he looks like freaking ragdoll.
Like yeah, like I was just like, dude, that was crazy.
When he's painting his face and like licking the brush and everything, like all that, I was just like, oh, dude, this is getting intense.
Yeah, and this movie was something else. It's definitely something like I could have easily walked out of the theater and been like, let me go buy another ticket and watch this again because it was so good. And I mean, I'm off Sunday. I mean, I might go watch it again Sunday, like to be honest. And
it really depends on what Abby, my wife, will be doing. Yeah. So that way, because I would love to see it again. So that way, if I can catch some certain things or not, you know, the whole placement of the detectives and their role and how they caused the riot on the subway. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, it was a misfire that caused that whole thing. I thought they were going to die. I legit thought they were going to die. And I love the change of his plan, the Joker's plan at the very end. His whole thing, or do you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, we can definitely talk about it. I mean, we already spoiled half of this movie anyways. But so there is this thing, if you've ever heard of Chekhov's gun, which is if you see a gun in the first act, it has to be used at the very end. Like, it's just, that's what they call it. And we see the gun immediately at the start. The one thing we didn't talk about was when he kills that guy in his apartment, that guy set him up to get fired.
Yeah.
Because he tells him, like, oh yeah, he tried to buy a gun from me the other day, and like he's crazy or whatever. Because like the guys in the locker room really didn't like him. They were scared of him. So that guy kind of just planted the gun on him, and he's like, come on, we're buddies, right? Like, you got to protect yourself. So he basically set him up to get fired. And so that's why Arthur kills him. Well, you see that gun at the very start of the movie. And then you start getting this idea where Joker's big finale was to tell a knock-knock joke and blow his brains out on live TV.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, you think he's going to do that, but he changes it. And he goes on like this kind of like philosophical.
And it's all
like,
because
rant.
of the one thing that therapist pointed out in the very beginning of the movie
Mm-hmm.
was the saying that he has in his journal is, "I hope my death is more meaningful than my life," or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Or it makes more
yeah,
sense than my
I hope
life.
my death makes more sense than my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as he sees that, it all clicks. Like he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm more worthy than any of these other people think that they are." And
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
whole point of, being angry at Thomas. And then he even
Mm-hmm.
says, "Murray, you're evil too. Like
Yeah.
you came here, you brought me here just to make fun of me. Like you just wanted
Yeah.
a good laugh out of me. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? That's not how it's gonna go." And boom, just freaking
Yeah. Blows his
blows.
brains
Yeah.
out. And yeah, and he does that, and he puts another extra couple holes in him after that. And then he does like people are gonna say it's like, and you're gonna see the videos on Twitter, but people are gonna say it's paying homage to you know Heath Ledger's Joker, where he grabs the camera and he like talks into it.
Oh yeah.
But Joker's done that before. Like he's did that on the
Well,
animated
and then
series like many
also
a times.
one thing that's very Joker is when he walked on stage and grabbed that doctor's face and just like kissed her.
Yeah,
I was like, "That's Joker. That's totally
yeah.
Joker."
Yeah, it was pretty awesome and hilarious, and there's definitely like there were parts in this movie that I did laugh out loud, just because like it was perfect comedic timing on certain
Oh
jokes,
yeah.
and there were jokes that made you feel uncomfortable, and that like when he was doing his interview, his jokes were like uncomfortable, and that's when like Murray's like, oh, we don't tell those kind of jokes here, and blah blah blah,
Hmm.
and I thought it was just very interesting. And yeah, they definitely made you think that he was gonna kill himself, and like, cause you could just sense it. Like that would be an interesting way to end the movie. Like the Joker's legacy is this man that's like he's tormented, and he does this on live TV, and everybody's like, oh, see, they don't care about us, blah blah blah. But yeah, he turned into something else. Now, the interesting thing that I want to talk about, because obviously this movie had a lot of controversy going into it. I mean, we saw that it's even needing to get extra security. The military's talking about it and blah blah blah. At this moment, it's apparently breaking the records for October. They're predicting that to have the biggest opening weekend for October, which would be past Venom, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But I want to talk about if this, because the biggest thing was like this movie's going to inspire people to do bad things. I'm highly against that idea, but I will say the one thing in this movie is people are going to say like, yeah, well, this dude's obviously like a villain. He's a criminal. And yes, he is. That's exactly how the Joker would be. But the interesting thing that happens in this movie is society picks its heroes. And in this society in Gotham, Joker's the hero because he's standing up to these rich people. He's taking them out, and they don't care. Basically, the rich doesn't care about the poor, so the poor shouldn't give a fuck about the rich.
Yeah.
And the Joker is the one showing them that you can stand up for yourself, you can do your own thing, and they save his life. Like he's literally going to jail, and they break him out, and they like carry him out
Yeah.
of the thing and put him on this cop car.
They run into the police car that he's in.
Yeah,
They carry him out of the window, put him on top, and you
and
think he's dead. Like I was like,
yeah,
holy crap, that is like it's gonna be like this weird cult, like just like raising him up and
yeah.
like this
I
is
thought it
our
was gonna be like
legacy.
the Spider-Man scene.
Yeah, basically.
Where they like, yeah.
And after a while, after I believe it's after Thomas and Martha both got shot, that's when he like
Mhm.
starts to cough up the blood. He wakes up, he gets up,
Yeah.
and that's when he gets his own blood and like puts the smile on his face. And
Yeah, the crowd goes crazy.
yeah, dude, the last 30 minutes of this film was like it I did not lose focus of the screen whatsoever. Usually when
Yeah.
it starts to get near the end of the movie, you kind of feel it, and so you're like wanting to see other people's reaction, looking around and
Yeah.
stuff. I was super focused on this film.
Yeah, and that was it. After he doesn't kill himself and he kills Murray, I was like, oh crap, where's this film gonna go now? I was like very interested because I remember I had saw like some images of him in the cop car. I was like, oh, that hasn't happened yet. I was like, I want to know where this movie's gonna go, and so it was just very interesting to see that again, this movie, I don't think it can be what people say, where it's like, oh, it's gonna incite violence or it's gonna provoke people. I think anything can provoke people, but I did think it was a very interesting concept to where this downtrodden Gotham society picked its hero, and its hero was somebody that you would normally think is a fucking terrible person, and like they shouldn't be a hero, but they're beaten down. They have nothing else to really latch onto, and they want to see change in the world. And we know right now that in America, we're dealing with something where people voted or they picked their hero to try to change the world, and it wasn't a great fucking selection.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're on the opposite side, but if you're in that party, you probably think it's still great. Just like those people probably still think that Joker's fucking great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was very interesting. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie. But yeah, I don't think, like, if you're a sane person, you would not think the Joker's a hero, like, at all. You shouldn't. If you think he is a hero at some point, I'm down with having the conversation about it, but he's fucking not a hero in this movie at all.
I could see there being a conversation that somebody's like, "Oh no, he's just misunderstood." No,
Yeah.
like I understand, because one of the things that he writes in his journal is the one thing about mental illness is everybody believes that you're not behaving when you actually are, or like something like that. So
they expect you to behave when you don't. I don't know, something like that.
And so he thinks in all of his being that he is doing the right thing, that he is acting normal. And so it's not being misunderstood, it's the fact that he doesn't understand the lines of reality. And I think that's what this whole thing was about. And, you know, because he does the daydreaming, he is, you know, fixated on Zazie Beetz' character. And then when he just walks into her apartment, she freaks out. That's the whole realization. And you see how terrified she is, you know? And so,
for sure.
And so there are key moments in this movie that show you, hey, this is not a quote unquote good guy. This is just the person that we're writing the film about, or this is the
and if anything, this is the perfect movie to have people talk about mental illness, like, genuinely. Because at the start of this movie, you see that, you know, Arthur goes to these, which was very curious in my opinion too, because apparently he had been in an asylum before, and I guess he's gotten out, and he goes to these things to, like, talk about.
And just like how, you know, we don't know his origin of the laugh or his origin overall, we
don't know why he was.
We don't know why he was in there before, and he just laughs it off like, "Oh, I don't know," because she asks him, "Why do you think you were there?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah. And so he goes and talks to the social worker, and she ends up telling him, like, well, you know, all our funding got cut, so I'm not going to be able to see you anymore. And he's like, well, how am I going to get my medications? And that is a huge thing in today's society. A lot of people can't get the help they need. They can't get the health care they need, well, specifically here in America. And they're on the streets, and they're out having to survive on their own. And, like, if they do have a disability or, like, you know, something mental, like a mental illness, they're just out there in the world, and they could cause harm, they couldn't, like, they just can't survive. Like, it's a very interesting topic, and I know people are going to focus on, like, oh, this is going to cause school shootings and shit, but they're going to be ignoring the bigger issue, which is mental illness in this country and in that movie. Like, Arthur Fleck is not a healthy man, but, you know, he's been screwed over by society. Like, that is, like, the big message of this movie, is this is somebody that's being fucked over by the current society. The wealthy gets richer, the poor get poorer, and what do you expect them to do when they have no resources to get better?
You know, and
they're gonna act out.
When he goes to Arkham Asylum to get the files about his mother, you know, he's talking to that guy. He's like, well, how do people get in here? You know? And the guy's like, oh, you know, some of them are dumb crying, some of them have nowhere else to go. And so you're getting all this real life situation shit. And, you know, Arthur finally says, you know, I've done some pretty messed up stuff, you know? And that's when the guy's like, hey, dude, you know, I just work here. You know, if you need help, I think you should get it. But I can't do anything for you. But, like, those key moments, man, it is a huge topic to really focus around. But I think you're right. I think most people will just see, oh, this is a bad movie that will cause bad things, and don't take your children to go see it. After that first shooting, I saw that whole subway thing, and I was like, nope, I cannot see any child seeing this movie.
And they shouldn't. It's rated R for a reason. But yeah, unfortunately, I do think this is a movie that will be totally ignored for its real purpose and real message. And they'll just focus on the violence and, oh, people like the Joker too much. This fetishizes things or whatever, blah blah. But overall, man, I fucking love this movie. Totally would go see it immediately again, and I'm interested to see if it's gonna have the staying power to win a few box office weekends in a row, because it is one of those films. It's not something like Endgame where you just want to see the action scenes over and over and over. Like, you have to really enjoy cinema, I think, to want to watch the Joker multiple times.
Yeah, I will say it's gonna be tough to sit through some of those scenes again, like just
Mm-hmm.
because of the uncomfortableness. And I would be interested to feel the intensity inside of, because our theater wasn't full by any means,
No,
but
yeah,
to like,
maybe like 40
yeah,
people.
but to have like a full theater maybe at night or something, I'd be
Yeah,
kind of interested in seeing that. But
yeah,
like, I I think I will attempt to see it once or twice more to see if I can pick
yeah,
up on some more things. Uh,
for sure.
Other than that, I seriously can't wait for like deleted scenes and stuff.
Yeah, it was funny because they showed like I don't know what deleted scenes would be out if there is any, because I feel like, this film, I mean, this film was done on the fly apparently. Like, some of the things where they had to write the script while they were filming.
Hmm.
That's what I
Well, yeah,
heard.
there was
Um,
they talked about this a whole lot like near the beginning of filming, was like Joaquin and Zazie Beetz both felt that their characters would be a certain way. And so they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, let me rewrite this and,
Mhm.
maybe her character would do this and I would do this." But there was one scene where, if you remember, Arthur Fleck is in the middle of an alley and he's kicking the trash.
Yeah.
That was all done by him and he actually got hurt. So
Oh,
when he
really?
goes down and like is holding his
Yeah.
leg, it's because Todd Phillips was like, "Hey, there's this stunt double that knows how to like kick properly and like,
Mhm.
do all these things for you." And Joaquin was like, "It's a trash can. I'm going to do it myself." And he
Yeah.
like pulled a muscle like immediately. But they
That's
kept the
hilarious.
footage and they put it in the movie. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty awesome. So I would be really interested to see where they're gonna go, with any deleted scenes or post stuff. I know Jimmy Kimmel showed one of him getting like really mad at somebody.
and
I don't know if you saw that.
I'm kind of upset because like his publicist, Joaquin's publicist came out and said, "Oh, that
Mhm.
was all fake."
Mhm.
So because apparently Joaquin was getting a whole lot of crap for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of people calling him an asshole for like being that like actor diva that is trying to get like the
Yeah.
perfect scene or whatever, which
Uh huh.
I wouldn't get mad at him at all. This is like a very intense movie and you need to have a certain
Yeah.
kind of emotion. And if he
Yeah, for
wants
sure.
something, then he wants something. Give it to him. I want this
Yeah.
movie to be perfect. But his publicist did come out saying later, "Hey, that was all fake. We staged it." The whole
Mhm.
back and forth between Kimmel, that was also staged, because
Yeah.
it kind of got like awkward for Joaquin on that late night show
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Yeah.
Kimmel. And so I kind of feel bad for Joaquin getting
Mhm.
all that crap, but I
Yeah.
really hope that it is real and that,
Yeah.
there was actually that back and forth.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. And I think he makes a joke about the publicist in that interview or something like that too. So I wouldn't be surprised. Um, but yeah, man. Also, Zazie Beetz, I'm surprised she's not on that damn list for Catwoman. Like, you would think they would just throw her on
Oh,
there.
because she's been in almost
Like,
everything lately. Yeah.
yeah, you might as well, compared to some of those other women that are on there. Like, fuck, just give me Zazie Beetz as Catwoman at this point. Like, she's awesome too.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, man, I think, like, I guess final thoughts. Again, I would definitely go watch this again. I will say that I just texted this to a friend that hasn't seen it yet. He was like, "No spoilers, but tell me what you think." I told him, I was like, if this doesn't get nominated for Best Picture, it's bullshit. If it doesn't win Best Picture, then the movie that does win better be like one of the best films in the last decade or something, because this Joker movie is something else and it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Last minute thoughts for me. Like I said, uncomfortable, disturbing. I look forward to any future Black Label movies if they're going to be this aesthetic, because not only was the acting good, the story was good, but it was filmed awesome. It was a pretty film. Like, it was just
Yeah.
beautiful overall. I wasn't feeling the bathroom scene, but the cinematography in that scene was gorgeous. I love
Yeah.
all the scenes on the Murray show with Robert De Niro. Loved all those. I am looking forward to seeing what DC has planned for the future Black Label of the movies.
Yeah, I think DC is definitely trending upward. I mean, we'll see what happens with Birds of Prey in February, and then of course we got Wonder Woman, which I think everybody would think that'll be a knockout of the park. And yeah, I don't know. I think DC is finally finding its way, and I'm enjoying it because my biggest thing that I've always bitched about when it comes to Marvel, and of course Marvel fanboys will hate me for it, but I feel like Marvel, it's the same shit. Every movie is just formulaic. It's not different. It's just comedy, comedy, comedy. Hero wins, and that's it. And besides like Endgame and whatever, but that was built up for 10 years. But every other movie is the same. But with DC, these all genuinely feel very unique. They feel like their own films, and I'm excited for that. Are they all going to be good? Well, wait and see. But, I mean, at least they feel different, and they're trying to be something that Marvel's not. And I appreciate that, and that's exactly what Todd Phillips said. Let's do that with Joker. Like, let's do these other films, because we're not going to beat Marvel. Let's do some shit that they can't do. And they definitely cannot do this. So, which they should, though. Just throwing that out there, Marvel. Make a Marvel Max fucking spin-off or something like that. If you don't want to put the Disney logo on it, who cares? Just make up another random-ass company and just bring that company up and do Marvel Max. So, because I think people want to see that. But anyways, so those are our final thoughts on Joker. This podcast is going to continue. It's just we're recording these on 2 separate days. So in, I guess, a few seconds, we'll be talking about Batwoman and Batman comics and any other news that has happened. But we just really wanted to talk about Joker, and those are our thoughts. So continue the podcast.
I think the girls with their nails done now.